Okay, so the first of that second line of defense is what is called non-specific phagocytosis. So we know what phagocytosis is. This is where the the cell engulfs something and eats it up. Okay. And there are certain white blood cells that do these things. If you remember, there are certain white blood cells that are eaters. And you can call them or remember them as the men. Okay, because men like to eat, right? So men, they are monocytes, eosinophils, and neutrophils. So they like to eat, and what do they eat? Well, they pretty much eat anything that has a certain sort of receptor thing on it. I don't want to call it an antigen, really, but it's just like this little marker on cells, on pathogen cells, that kind of mark it as something that's not you. Okay, remember, a lot of what the immune system spends doing is trying to figure out what's you and what's not you. Okay, so if we have our white blood cell, so whatever it is, a monocyte, eosinophil, neutrophil, whatever. So on this white blood cell is a little sort of marker thing. It's kind of like a receptor, I guess, sort of thing. It's called a PRR, or a pattern recognition receptor. So I'll just name this men. Okay, so they have this little receptor thing on it, okay? So that's what that is. And what it's looking for on a pathogen is, here's the little pathogen, and it's looking for the pathogen to display this thing called a PAMP. And a PAMP is a pathogen associated molecular pattern. And it's kind of like that. So it fits in this little receptor thing. So that's what the men are looking for. And they go and they clamp onto this pathogen associated molecular pathogen or pattern, sorry. And when it does that, then it is able to engulf this thing and eat it. Okay. So not all pathogens have PAMPs or have a PAMP. But if it does have it, then the men will eat it. So that's general, it's non-specific. Okay. I mean, it's specific to the sense of, oh, it has to have this PAMP thing on it, but it's general in that a lot, if not a majority, of pathogens just have this thing on it. Okay. So along with the PAMPs, or along with the men here and these PAMP things, sometimes, the pathogen is too small or whatever, and it can't really be seen well by these white blood cells. So there are chemicals that actually help the men see this thing so that they can latch onto those PAMPs and eat up, these pathogens. So a chemical that initiates non-specific phagocytosis is called an opsonin. So antibodies can act as opsonins. Act as opsonins. So an antibody, if we remember from the looking at the blood typing, all antibodies have this structure, like the little T thing, and on the little arms here are little like receptors, and these antibodies can bind onto the pathogen if it has this receptor, and can kind of show it to the men for this non-specific phagocytosis. One thing about antibodies don't actually kill pathogens. They initiate other ways for the body to kill pathogens, and this is one of those ways that it can do that. Okay, so that is non-specific phagocytosis. So now we want to talk about natural killer cells.